Hello everyone and welcome to our live stream. We are in Vision Entertainment and today we're going to play the demo of our city builder, Pioneers of Pagonia. I am Katharina, the community manager, and next to me is sitting Volker Wertich, our creative director. Hi Volker.
Hi Katharina, and welcome everyone out there to the presentation of our demo of Pioneers of Pagonia.
Please don't hesitate to ask as many questions as you like in the chat. I will have an eye on that and we try to answer as many of them as possible. So without further ado, I would say let's start.
Yes, okay, so let's jump right into the game. We arrived with the Venturer, our ship, at a new island, and you can see there's a small patch of land that we already own. It's marked here with the border stones, and everything beyond that is for now a mystery and unexplored. So what we will do is we see that there's forest already in our area here, but we don't see any stone. So the first thing we look if we can find stone anywhere, and up here in the hills there's some stone. So let's get the guard tower close to this place, probably here, because the guard tower is responsible to extend our territory, and this will help us then to get our hands on stone as soon as possible, because as a basic construction material we definitely need it very soon. Then if you look a bit around, we have an area here to the west, the north, yes, there is more rock and a mountain kind of thing, and here to the east we find more forest, so maybe getting that forest into our territory is interesting also. Some animals, some bunnies, and here we see a few wild boars hopping around, so this might be a good place also for a hunter. Okay, so let's place also a road here, connected, and then we place first another guard tower very close here to the border, or maybe we keep some room, or we can place a woodcutter up here. So let's put the guard tower here and go to the food section and place a hunter here. Okay, excellent. As you can see, the first units are coming from the ship. There's a lot of, we can take a closer look here. These are the diggers. They will level the ground. They are coming with shovels to make sure that the ground is flat to place a building. After that, you can see they are coming here units which transport materials. So for the guard tower, we only need stones. And there are more people coming from the ship here. With the white clothing, we already see some builders who will be responsible to raise the building. So while the building is still currently level, the other people are already marching and going on the way to make sure that you don't have unnecessary delays here. You can also see on the ship there's a lot of material waiting, so we can also select the ship and take a closer look what's on the ship. For example, there's almost 120 tree trunks left, and there's a lot of different units also available who will come out of the ship as soon as we build more buildings. Next thing we do is we will take care of resources and to process resources. So we already will expand here for stone, but for the forest we will now build woodcutters. Let's start here. Maybe this is also a good location for a woodcutter. We place the entrance facing the forest because then it's a bit shorter for the woodcutters to reach that spot, and they save a bit of time. So this way. And we can now also adjust what kind of trees should be cut. We can, for example, say only softwood trees which are needed for construction, or we can choose hardwood trees which are needed for tools and weapons, and we can tell the woodcutters also to collect firewood. We will disable that for now because we want to make sure that more wood is created, more tree trunks. Here it's the same. We also place a woodcutter here and place it to this road which already exists. That's a good spot. And also here, yeah, we can say, okay, here we keep collecting some firewood for now. Oh, by the way, here we have raspberry bushes, so let's disable firewood here too, and instead we build a forager, and the forager can collect the raspberries, but the forager can also pick up firewood here directly from the forest as it becomes available as a woodcutter. The firewood is created if a tree is cut down. It will have several chunks of tree trunks, and when the tree trunk segments are picked up, before that woodcutters will remove the branches with the axe, And this will create some firewood, which can be picked up. If it's not picked up, it will rot, but maybe we don't need all, but we need some at least. And the firewood is used for cooking. So it's created, for example, for the tavern to create meals later, and also for the provisioner to smoke food. Well, there's a lot of unexplored areas here. We also want to explore it, and when we extend our borders, we will get additional knowledge. But there's another unit that can explore the lands. That's the Explorer. And we place an Explorer's hut maybe at the foremost position that we have here in our land. And connected with the road network. And the Explorer will then, when it's built, head out and lift the fork, so we get a better idea where are the important resources that we are still lacking. And this will help us to decide in which direction we want to extend our territory. It's time to build some additional processing buildings. For example, for wood we need sawmills, because wooden trunks can be used for some basic buildings, but most of the buildings need softwood beams, and therefore we need the sawmill. So let's see where's a good place. We have woodcutter here, we have woodcutter there, so maybe we can place one sawmill here on the left and one on the right side. Since this is probably likely one of the main traffic roads we will have later on, we will not place the sawmill directly to the road, because that will cause quite some traffic in front of the sawmill and could cause sooner or later a traffic jam. But instead we will place it sideways, connected with the road. There's some additional space here to deliver material to make sure we have a more fluent traffic. We will build a second sawmill on the other side here and do it a bit the same. This might be kind of the main traffic route later, so we place it like this. So it can also directly get the wood from the woodcutter here on a very short path. We need the same for stone. There we have the stone masons, which turn the standard stone into cut stone for more advanced buildings, but also, which is very important, for border stones, because the border stones then are necessary to extend our territory. While we have no stone yet, or no quarries yet, we will probably build them somewhere in this area, because the stone is here. So we can place the stone masons somewhere down here, or maybe even in the new areas here. That's a bit closer. Let's first tell this guard tower to extend the territory exactly towards this location, because here it's the stone. Here we have coal deposits, which are also nice, but we need them a bit later. For now, it's more important that we get hands on the stone. Okay, so let's place the stone masons. Here we can get maybe even two, like one here, another one maybe like this. I would not like to destroy the berry bushes here, so if I wait a bit, then I can place maybe another stone mason without doing that. So I just place them here on the other side of the road. That's also a possibility. Not too close to make sure I can still build a path between. That's fine.
We already have quite a few questions from the chat.
Let's shoot.
Just fire away. Will there be storage with more capacity?
We have a storage building in the game, which is kind of the small one. It has a capacity of 64 units of one commodity, and you can place, of course, 20 next to each other if you want to. We also plan to add bigger storages, but that's already scheduled for the first quarter of 2024, so it will be a bit after early access that we also will have bigger storage buildings. But the small ones are also suited to build very large storages, maybe, but it's a bit more tedious to place so many small buildings and to manage them, so it would be easier with a bigger storage building, and that's why we also want to add.
Also, are there plans to increase the Wusel factor more? Because at the moment, the villagers are walking at the same speed and sometimes lead to long queues.
Yeah, I mean, there are, of course, many aspects of the demo which are not yet finished. So, for example, many buildings don't have work procedures yet, so the animations are not final. And also about the units, how they walk, and later we will add different transport methods, but for now we only have walking carriers, so that's more a bit more kind of similar for the units, that's true. What we plan to add also is that sometimes, right now it's like people who are idle, so that means people who don't have a current job are walking with the same speed, so we will probably have them walk slower, so it's easier also for the player to distinguish units which are currently busy and those which are currently not really busy and heading somewhere else. Just heading to their home probably. And those units also could of course step aside because they are not currently carrying something somewhere, so they are not in a hurry. Let's place a forester now, because the forests we have are not that big. We have this one, okay, and we have this one, which is even a bit smaller, so at some point we may run out of wood. We place a forester. Let's do it here. So the ground is very steep, leveling this will take a bit of time. Since the beginning of the game we mostly need softwood to construct new buildings, we don't need that many tools and weapons now. We will disable the placement of hardwood trees. Maybe we keep the firewood. We have it with the gatherer. They are not yet collecting firewood, but soon. So let's keep also tell the forester to collect some firewood if there's options. We can also tell the forester where to plant the trees primarily. Since I don't want all the trees to be here, I will set the focus point for planting new trees here in this area. Which still means right now the forester will at some point plant in this area. We don't have control options yet to limit the range where units can do something. The focus point will only adjust where the units start to do it. But we will add it later. And we need a well, because forester needs to water the young trees, make sure that they are growing, but sadly the ground here is not wet enough, so it's too dry. We cannot place a well here, so we need to go a bit into the distance, so maybe this here is a good location for a well. In the meantime, I hope the stones are in reach. Yes, they are, so we can finally now place the quarries before we get into trouble with construction material. As it's up here, there's not enough room to place it directly, but for example, we can place one down here. The units will still be able probably to walk. Oh no, this area is blocked, so then we remove it here and place it on the other side. That makes more sense. So we can place here, and we place a second one here. That means those quarries will be, of course, less effective than if they are directly next to the stones, so we place two for sure to make sure that we are getting stone faster.
Maybe another question.
Sure.
In the final game, will you meet other settlements?
Yes, there will be neutral factions which are on the island already, and those factions, they usually need some kind of help, so you will get in contact with them and then you can trade with those factions. You often also have trade offers, and there are also several objectives of various kinds that they hand over to you, and if you fulfill these objectives, they are becoming your friends, and if they really trust you at some point, they are even your allies, and in that moment you can also merge with them, so you can basically take over whole villages at that point. Okay, so we have this done, so let's see. Stonemill is too early. Let's take a look a bit at the exploration status. So we have the explorer now here already in place, and you can see the explorers here are heading out and they are removing the fork step by step. So they are walking basically to the border of the currently explored territory, and then they are removing the fork to make sure we can see a bit more. So you can see it in a second. Okay, but this area, well, there's some mining resources, but it's not really that exciting. So maybe we explore in a different direction first. Maybe here. We don't know what's going on here, so we set the focus point to this area to make sure the explorers are taking a closer look what's happening. We also need to recruit new workers at some point and get some tools. So next thing here we will build is Guild Hall. The Guild Hall is responsible for training new craftsmen of all types. So let's see where a good location could be. Quite central location is good because they will move into all directions. after they have taken their job. Maybe here. And also we need, of course, buildings to craft the tools. So we start with a wood workshop. Also place it here in this area, make sure it's not that far away. And we can also place the toolsmiths. So make sure people don't have to walk always around here like this. This is also maybe a good time here to build a shortcut. Another shortcut here to avoid that units are going unnecessary distances. Oh, there's still enough room to squeeze one here, so let's do that too. Okay, in the meantime, some of the buildings we've placed are already finished. We can see now here, for example, the forager, and the units are going here. If we select it, we see which units belong to the forester. They get this kind of highlight. You see there's some natural flax, and here some raspberries harvested and brought back to the forager's hut. There's also now firewood collected. Since the woodcutters here are now active, you can see the branches on the ground, and they get picked up by the foragers. By the way, now we see here that the explorers are now heading this direction to start exploring this area here, which we don't see yet. Let's see what is behind that. We will come back in a few minutes to see what they've discovered. We also want more population at some point, so let's now start to build up the food chain. We have no hunters placed here. We have one here, and oh, that hunter's already getting rabbits, deers, and boars. Everything is here. So we place first a provisioner. That is a building which turns meat or bread into rations, which then can be used, for example, by the explorer. And we can place it here quite close, maybe to the hunter. On the other hand, we want to keep some room here for the forester to plant new trees. So let's do it here. And the provisioner can turn different kinds of meats into rations, and also the bread. But the deer meat is very valuable for our population. They like it a lot, and this will help us to get population faster if we use it for consumption of our inhabitants. So we disable the production of deer meat, smoking deer meat, to create rations. Now we can place the tavern. It's quite a central building. Many people will go there to eat, and we need to place a marketplace and some other residences nearby. So let's place the tavern here, so we have enough room to build all the things we want to build. As you can see, there's a completely free placement in our game, so you can place it anywhere. The grid that you can see next to the road here is a support grid to make sure you have an understanding how much room you left somewhere. For example, I want to place a few tables next to the tavern, and to make sure that I leave enough room for the tables, I can use this because the table needs just like a size of one of these grid cells. And then I can see quite easily that I leave enough room to place some tables here. We'll do the same on the other side. Like this. Okay, and now let's place the tables. Keep here 2 directly at the entrance. Few more around. So these tables will be used by the cooks later to serve their meal. We also need a marketplace. That is the place where the cooks are getting all the meal ingredients. Again, we can take it like this, we create here. So this is not big enough. Let's go a bit further to make sure we have enough space to get some market stalls here inside. On the other hand, connect this. Marketplace needs a central market fountain. This is a very good spot. It should be also closed because the cooks will walk there to get the water for the meals, and some market stalls. It should be plenty. Maybe one more. Yep. Okay, excellent. So this will take a bit of time to build up, but we are already now here prepared. In the meantime, we maybe should take a look at the guard towers and where we are extending our territory. Did the explorers find anything interesting down here in that area? We can now see there's silver and copper here. That is definitely something we want to own. So I would say we tell this guard tower now to extend into this direction, to the west, to make sure we can harvest the silver later. There's more here, which is unexplored. And it seems it might be kind of a dead end. We see some shore area here, so we let the explorers work a bit more in that direction. And then we take a look again. I already built a road in that direction, at least up to this point. And this is a nice green patch. We could build a farm here. And some farmland. Let's start with a vegetable farm. We cannot place farmland on the dry ground here, so for example we can also use this dry ground now to place the farm itself, and then place patches of farmland. Let's first connect the building. Too dry. Quite close here. This thing. You move that one again. Okay.
As it has been discussed in the chat, what kind of enemy types can we expect? We don't have them yet in the demo, but what is planned for early access?
Yeah, there are several enemy types. The first thing, or let's say the most basic enemies you have are kind of thieves and bandits. They will head into your village and steal. The thieves will head into your village and steal commodities of all types, which they find interesting. So if you don't have enough guards or soldiers to protect your village, you may get some kind of serious trouble because a lot of stuff gets stolen. The bandits are even a bit more tricky because they can also attack transports. They will not only steal stuff that is lying on the ground, but instead they will also attack units which are carrying commodities. For example, also your traders. If they're heading to another village to trade materials and they get robbed in between, of course that doesn't really count as valid payment. And there are also more enemy types. We have also unnatural enemy types. They are kind of ghosts and spirits. And there's also werewolves. The werewolf is maybe the most dangerous enemy because when it bites your villagers, it turns those villagers into new werewolves. And at some point, if you don't get things under control, you might have a werewolf island. But in general, it's also important to say that you can choose the difficulty level yourself. So we have procedural map generation, and setting up a new map, you can decide if you want a completely peaceful game. Maybe the wild boars sometimes chasing away one of your workers is the worst thing that can happen. And you can build up and take all the time you want. Or on the other hand, you can say I want an island full of enemies and I want more kind of a challenge with only scarce resources. So it's really tricky to be able to conquer all parts of the island because you're really limited in the options. And then you will find a real challenge. And of course, everything in between is possible. The vegetable farm can plant pumpkins and cabbage. We can keep both active. That's both nice food. It's a bit different. The pumpkins are growing basically everywhere. And they are also eaten by everyone. They don't have that high nutrition and comfort values. The cabbage is preferred by the miners, but it doesn't grow everywhere, so it doesn't grow on more dry grounds. But on this one, on the default grasslands, it's growing okay. Right now in the demo, the different terrain types are not in, so that means right now everything grows with the same quality or the same chance everywhere. So you don't really have choices yet on that. For example, the forest, which was here, has a forest ground which is left here, and you can't plant on forest ground right now, but that will change for early access. In reality, the forest ground then will move away and you will have a different sediment type below, which is the ground that is used also for farmland. So it is possible to turn forest into farmland. On the other hand, it's also possible to turn grassland into forest, and that might also be an idea you want to do sometimes, because either way it might be you really are short on trees and need more wood, but it can also happen that you say you want maybe some porcinis, or you want additional spots where animals could settle. And if you plant new forests, it can happen that animals or other plants which grow in the forest will appear there, and so you can harvest them.
So what happens when you clear the entire forest? Are you able to place buildings there?
Yes, you are. So for example, like here, where the forest is already removed, we can place something. So let's see, what could we use? We could maybe place a smelting works in this area. Let's do this now, so you can already place it here at the location where the forest was removed.
But animals and resources will then disappear.
Yeah, that's true. So if the forest is removed, it's kind of a habitat space for wild boars and for deer. And they will, if there's no forest left, they will not recover in that area. Well, in the demo, they still do, but at early access, they won't. So as you can see, there's also deer here, which was hunted. And the forest here removes a bit. What's going on with our forester? He's now having water and starts to plant new trees. I think I should switch the woodcutter to only fell the big trees to make sure that the small young trees don't get cut immediately. So that's more, let's say, preserving the forest, and that's also important. You can also place one more woodcutter here. Maybe on the other side of this forest area here, and connect it. Here. You can see in the top bar there's also information about many of the resources that we have. So for example, we still have 74 tree trunks. Right now you see the +3, that means that somewhere 3 woodcutters are on the way to cut a new tree. Now it was 4. And reserved, that means how many of those trunks are already planned to be used somewhere. So in reality the amount that is still available is around 40 right now. And you can also configure this interface. So for example, if you say, oh, I also want to keep track on how much firewood I have and how much limestone and cement has been discovered, you can also enable those and you get a permanent display. And here on the right, you can see objectives that we have in the demo version. So it's a lot of economy objectives to guide you through the game, to get an idea about what you could do, to get more familiar with the game and experiment with it. You can also ignore them and just experiment on your own. So for the demo, that's totally fine.
Maybe we can answer another question from the chat. Yeah, if you can answer this one, are there any quality of life updates already planned? Something like shortcuts, for example? Yeah,
that's definitely something we work on continuously. So I know some people already played the alpha and are now playing the demo, and they can already see many smaller improvements we did in the meantime, and that will of course keep going. So we have planned to do a full hotkey setup, so that means that many of the functions can also be activated by the keyboard. I'm a mouse player. I really enjoy not to have the need to use the keyboard, but of course many people prefer to use shortcuts on the keyboard, like you can use them to cycle through buildings or to get into build mode with a specific buildings. So this is things we will include in the version very soon. In the meantime, here the guards extended our territory, that we have copper and silver here within, so we can place mines here. Let's place a silver mine here and a copper mine maybe on the other side. That. Let's see if we can already connect it with the road, or if we need more territory somewhere, because here it's quite small, but let's see if we can squeeze through. No, that's too dense. We need to replace the building once more, because it's too close. Maybe let's build the road first to make sure we keep enough space. Let's see if the copper mine still fits in there. It does. Okay, so these will be built. Now we already see that this is basically kind of a dead end. There's a bit of water, a bit of ocean here heading up to the rocks, so we cannot get through here. Definitely not with the road, and therefore we need to explore into a different direction. There's also the idea, of course, at some point we maybe could build bridges, but this will definitely not exist for early access, maybe one day. Okay, and we need to connect the roads, otherwise the new buildings here will not be crafted. You can take also a look at recruitment. We have the guild hall in the meantime finished. Whenever new buildings are constructed, units will automatically pick up tools in the guild hall to occupy their new jobs. But there are some units without a home, and that's all the construction units, like the diggers and the builders, and as well as the construction site carriers. And these will be recruited manually. So depending on what needs you have, what you want to do, and how many buildings you want to raise simultaneously, you can increase those numbers. For example, you can say you want 5 more diggers, 5 more builders, and 10 more construction carriers. And then those units, you already see them, some are marked here now, are heading to the guild hall to pick up the tools and to pick up that work. And some buildings also, like for example the wood workshop and the toolsmiths, they do not produce after they have been built automatically, because you want probably to have some control about what they should produce. If you want, you can set things to unlimited. I will show this in a second. So for example, now we say here in the wood workshop we want to create 10 spears. These are necessary for guards. More guards means we can build more towers which can be manned. More towers which can be manned means we can expand faster. We also build some cogwheels because we need those for some of the more advanced buildings. So for example windmills, or also the mint or the stone mill, they will all need those wooden cogwheels. And here in the toolsmiths, we can now take a look at what kind of resources we have. We can look here, what tools do we still own. We see we don't have any more saws. These are empty. So maybe we want to build 5 new ones. And maybe we will also say, okay, we need a lot of mining, so let's build 10 pickaxes. But we can also set something to unlimited. That means whenever there's a possibility, the building will now produce shovels. And we don't have to adjust the numbers, so you can choose that as you like. So, but I don't want unlimited shovels for now, so I disable it again. Tools can be crafted with copper or with iron. Copper is slower, because you need 5 units of copper. It takes quite some time to craft the tool. So with iron it's faster, but sometimes you maybe have to judge which resource is currently more important. For example, with copper you can also craft copper coins, which you can use for trade. With iron you can also craft weapons, so you have to decide which way is probably fitting better to your strategy. So we have the tavern and the marketplace done right now. You can already see the products, but we didn't build any residences yet, so it's really time to place some. Let's see, we can also here connect. Maybe we start with the residence in here, just one fits. Then we connect it and place more residences. 3, here, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's okay. So when these will be built, the inhabitants of the residences, the carriers will move in. They will go to the tavern and consume food, return home. Depending on the food and how delicious it was, it's more likely that you get a lot of new Pagonians. And this is necessary, of course, to increase your population. We already came with more than 300 to the island, but in large villages you want to have multiple thousands of units later to hustle and bustle around and carry all the material. Because the islands are quite big, so you can really build large settlements and explore a lot more of the lands here. Well, by the way, Explorer, we have the Explorer's Hut here. We did not really look more into the east yet. So let's tell the Explorer to continue here in this area. We see there's more mining resources. We see here there's iron ore. That's something we definitely want to get our hands on soon. So let's tell the tower to extend here. It's already, the borders are already exactly beyond the iron. That means we can already build here. You see a lot of wild boars. That's not that nice because they will chase our workers away. So the hunter it's close enough, but we will switch the hunter and tell the hunter to focus on the wild boars for a while and keep the rabbits and the deer unattended to make sure that we have enough, that it's getting not any trouble with our workers. Okay, so we want to place an iron hut.
Meantime, we have some more questions
Sure.
in the chat. There is one about, will there be an option to prioritize the resources for the carriers carry?
You can do that basically indirectly, because you can set priorities on the buildings. So that means whenever you think a building is really urgent or should get its resources urgent, then you can set this building to priority and will get delivered first or also be built first. So just as an example, right now, here we have the iron hut. We can also enable that we just place now priority, and the priority means that construction material will be brought to this building first, and that's before any other transport, basically. This one will be done. And also when the hut is finished, if it needs supplies, it will also get those supplies first. Well, the iron hut does not need any supplies yet, but in the early access version, the mining huts will need food, and therefore it's also important if you, for example, lack food, you can adjust which buildings should get delivered first.
And there was another question, will there be upgrades for buildings?
No, that's not planned. So what you usually do is like you place buildings multiple times, sometimes maybe 5, 10 or even more of a building, depending on the kind of production capacity you want to have. So upgrades of buildings are not planned. And also take a look here to the north. It looks like it's kind of really a mountain area. But up here we also see there's a lake and the area extends. So for now, the fisherman does not exist. It will come also in the first quarter of next year. But we can see that's quite a steep terrain. Maybe we can get a path through. So we don't know yet, but we can extend here and maybe we can get out in this area. Let's see where the guard tower here is extending territory. They're still extending this area here. Okay, that's fine, but I'm more curious now to go to the north. So let's tell our guards to extend the territory this direction. We also need more water. The vegetable farm has some water here, but we only have one well right now. That means that at some point they will not be able to water the plants and they will wither. Let's place another well somewhere close here to the farm, maybe on this side. Yeah, maybe this a bit closer, so we can make sure that all the plants are watered. Meantime, the silver mine is done. They are already harvesting silver, as we can see, and also copper. The copper is then brought probably to the toolsmith. Take a look at the toolsmith. Here you can see, if you're looking at the resources, that currently the toolsmith is finished and already has a lot of hardwood boards to create tools. Copper was partly missing, so it's still 4 units of copper here, but 10 more are incoming. So the copper mine is already supplying here the toolsmiths.
There was also a very nice question about the toolsmith, saying, does this mean exactly 5 saws are crafted and that's it? Or will it strive to always have 5 in reserve, so it will produce a new one?
No, here you really definitely tell how many new ones should be crafted beyond the things that you currently have. Of course, it could be a nice feature that you have the possibility to set up how many tools you always want to have in reserve. That's some, let's say, quality of life thing, which we definitely would like to add, but I think this will not be available at early access. It will probably come later. If you look at the marketplace, we have now the first people eating, and that should help soon to increase our population. You can see here one of the cooks is coming out of the tavern. Then he's heading over to the marketplace and picking up ingredients. So first picks up water, then probably some of the nice deer meat I already spoke of before. Very good. And do we still have a side dish they can add to the meal? Yes, we have pumpkins available. So the cook is now heading over to this market stall and then probably also picking up berries, so it's kind of a full meal, main dish, side dish, some fruits and water. And then the cook is heading back to the tavern, cooking and serving at one of the tables. And your residents from the cottages will move out to the tavern to eat and consume the food. And the different ingredients have kind of different values. For example, it's quite detailed, but the deer meat has a score, a comfort score of 8, while, for example, pumpkins only have a score of 3, I think. And therefore, they have different impact on how many newborns you get, or how long your miners will continue to work before they are hungry again. In the meantime, we also see that the vegetable farm planted a lot of cabbage and a lot of pumpkins. Here we see one wizard, so this one has not been watered early enough or something, I'm not sure. And you can see that they already start harvesting. So here we see one of the farmers bringing back a pumpkin. Here's one, well, it's not the right animation yet, as you can see, but technically it's working, so there's a piece of cabbage brought back to the house. And these will then get delivered to the marketplace. You can see at this point our small village here is getting quite busy. There are maybe more than 100 people already walking here around, carrying stuff from one location to another. That's just the start. It will get much more wuselig later. But yeah, so you can imagine with multiple thousand units, that will be quite an anthill that you have to manage here.
Here's another question, or maybe more like an idea or a suggestion. Will there be small rivers carriers can walk through, or waterfalls from lakes or high mountains?
I mean, we have, of course, mountain areas. We get a glimpse of, as you can see, compared to most other build-up games, our terrain can be very steep, and I like this a lot because it's also a bit more challenging than only having flat areas where you can build everything everywhere. So you really have to think about what kind of things you want to build somewhere. But visually, waterfalls are not yet existing. So what we have is that we have lakes of all kinds of different sizes. And of course, we are playing on islands, so we also have shore and the ocean, which is usually then around the island, of course. Good. We didn't do anything about military yet, so even if we don't have combat in this version, we need guards to extend our territory. So what we can do is we start to produce weapons and armor, and that we need the building also to recruit. So let's start here with a military academy that is necessary to recruit guards and soldiers. It's really a big building, so we need a bit of space. And maybe we should already think about where we want our production of iron. We found iron here to the east, so maybe this is a place where we want to do that. We didn't find coal here yet. Okay, let's anyway place that one back here. And we can add a few buildings like place the weaponsmith here, and also armor smith, get additional weapons and armor for our units. We have already created some spears before, so we can tell the military academy, although it's not yet existent already, as soon as you're done, please recruit 10 guards. And because we can use the guards then to extend our territory into new areas. And as you can see right now, the building is, when it's getting constructed, you can see up here what's going on. So you can see it needs 10 softwood beams, and it needs 16 cut stone. And there's 0 here yet, but it's all already incoming. So with the plus 10 and plus 16, you can see that. And if we are looking into the village, you can see all those units here who are highlighted. And these are the units who will now bring material for the construction and all work on the construction site. Here, for example, we see the diggers who will level the ground, Or back here we will see a lot of carriers, and they are now heading to the buildings to pick up the material. So for example, here we see a carrier picking up softwood beams, and this is one of the carriers who will deliver the softwood beam, obviously, to this construction site we just placed.
Earlier you talked about neutral factions and trade. Maybe you can elaborate on trade a little bit more, even if it's not in the demo yet, but it will be for early access.
Yeah, sure. In trade means, of course, we are what you see is what you get game, so everything that happens in the game world is visualized in detail. That means that every commodity you are trading will be really transported from your location, from your lands, to the location of the NPC faction you are trading with. And also all the materials that you are getting will be picked up there and brought home to your place. And it is a trade of, let's say, commodity A versus commodity B in different ratios. It can be like you deliver 3 coal and you get, let's say, 1 silver bar point. So it can happen like this, that your traders are heading off with 3 coal pieces, bringing back 1 silver bar. And of course, it's not like the only thing you can tell this trade should be done 20 or 50 times. And then a large amount of traders will head over to the other player, to the other faction to pick up the material. It's the amount is then can be managed individually, but of course the NPC factions don't offer unlimited amounts of. Sometimes it's unlimited, but sometimes it's also limited to a specific amount. And even if it's unlimited, it will be, of course, that it needs to be produced there, and it takes some time. So you cannot really use trade to obtain everything you want, but you can maybe fill important gaps in your economy with trade. Okay, we are looking at this here. Our guides are heading here to the north. We can now test. Can we build a road here? Or maybe we start this a bit more looking here at this area. Now we are looking at the eastern area where we extended, and we can see, okay, here's the ocean, and back here it also seems to be kind of a dead end. We are not getting out here. That means that neither west nor east. We have some nice additional resources here. We see limestone in the east. We see also coal up here in the mountains, but we will not get out of the valley here. So we probably need to squeeze through this area to get out. And therefore, we should take a look at if we can construct a road heading that direction and where we need to go.
How would you rate the difficulty of this map? And what kind of parameters will there be in the map generation later?
Yeah, of course, since there are no enemies, it's a very easy map. So you cannot really fail on this map. But of course, on the other hand, terrain is quite steep and the resources are not that close to the starting location. So let's say, considering that it is a peaceful map, it's not a really easy peaceful map. So it's already a bit tricky to manage everything here, especially if you consider that you will only be able to build one path, which goes out of this valley. So you really need probably to build up many things up there in other areas too, because you probably cannot squeeze all the commodities you want to transport through that single path. On the other hand, of course, well, the landscape is steep, so you don't have that much space to build, and you need to extend to be able to build everything. You see that here we are not yet able to get a road through, because there's a kind of a cliff barrier, so we need to get here more into this area. So we tell now our guards to extend to that place, so we set a focus point more here in this place. And we hope we can get around this here to build a road which goes up here to the beautiful lake. Well, resources. We don't have coal yet and limestone. We just spotted it here in the hills. So that's quite a tricky space because it definitely will not be possible to build a quarry or a coal mine right next to these locations. It's too steep here, and we would probably have to remove some forest to make more room. That takes time, but on the other hand, the buildings have quite large ranges. We can also decide that we place a quarry quite far away, so maybe, let's see, this is maybe the shortest distance we can find. And connect this with our road network. Can we get through? We are here too close to the corner. I have to place it once more. or also be on the safe side, we maybe build the path first as close as possible to the obstacles. Maybe like this. And then we place the buildings. So let's start here with the quarry first. And that means it's a bit of walking distance. It will take a bit more time. We could maybe place 2 quarries. But if you want to have limestone, that's still maybe the fastest way, because removing the forest will also take some time. So I disabled normal stone to make sure that this quarry is then heading for the limestone. And limestone can be turned into cement, and cement is necessary for many of the advanced buildings. So in the demo, it's only for 3 buildings, but it will be necessary for more later on. Also about coal, let's take a look if we can get around this here. Yeah, we can also place a coal mine here. That's also quite a walking distance to get up here, but better than no coal. In the meantime, we also had coal here right at the start, so that's in a much easier space, so we should get this. There's also a small cliff. Let's see how close we can get here, but we can get really close. That's a good location. Let's place a second coal mine. Okay, we already built a smelting works before. The smelting works is already getting iron ore and silver ore and creating bars. We have 8 silver bars already in it, and currently it's creating another iron bar. The silver bars are not, we don't have a mint yet to use the silver, so we can place that. Right next to it is a good location. Maybe like this to make sure we can still get out with the bar. And the mint will then turn copper or silver into copper or silver coins, which then later, of course, for example, can be used by trade. See, the forest here is basically completely gone. What are the woodcutters doing right now? They still have a few trees here and there they can cut. And they are also getting, they can even reach the borders of the other forest. So, of course, it's quite a walking distance also for this woodcutter, but it's not necessary to disable it. The cutters can still work, so we can keep it going.
There were some questions about the residences.
Yes.
Are there going to be alternative residences, and is there a possibility for decorations?
We will increase, of course, all the residences look the same right now. We will increase the visual variation between the residences, because usually you build a lot of them. And there's also a bigger one. I think it's already here visible basically in the interface, but it's not enabled in the demo. This one has space for 25 residents at once, so it has the option to host more people, and you don't need to build that many in that case. So marketplace works fine. We still have a few market stalls here which are empty, because we don't have more food ingredients yet. Well, we can also start to build a crop farm in the meantime. Let's go here, and there's not that much, but I think that's enough. Maybe still the best place if I look around. Oh, back here is also a possibility, but that's steep. So, or back here. But I think the next to the vegetable farm is maybe a better place to put also the crop farm. Here. The crop farm can plant corn, which is good for the comfort meals. You can also plant flax. You need flax to craft ropes and cloth, which is also construction material, for example, needed for a well. It's also needed for a bow, and cloth is needed for market stalls and the windmill and many other buildings. And wheat. And wheat is then used in the windmill to be turned into flour, and flour, and of course, and finally using water and firewood into bread. And we can order this, by the way, already. So let's place a windmill, not here, because we need place for the farmland. Maybe, yeah, it's a good location, very close to the farm. Maybe we can go this way here and place a bakery. where the forest has been. So it can go quite here from the crop farm to the windmill to the bakery and move on to the marketplace and the provisioner, because the provisioner can also use bread and turn it into rations. So, but we need some more farmland. Here. But now what will happen is, of course, that the farmers from the vegetable farm will also plant here on these cells. To avoid that, I can also define what should be planted here. So for example, I can say on these cells, it is wheat, on these cells, it is corn, and on the other ones, it is flax. Later we will make this function here more comfortable. The idea is that you can already also define what to plant when you place cells, so you don't have to reselect them and adjust it, but that's kind of a quality of life feature which is not yet in the demo. Okay, let's see what else we have. We had our weapon production started. Let's move over. We had 10 guards ordered and they are already recruited, so we didn't really watch that in detail. And we missed it a bit. We already have 30 guards. And since the guards are not used anywhere right now, we only have 2 guard towers with 10 guards each. They are probably moving back to the ship. So they are probably already in the ship. Here they are, 10 guards. So, but if we build a new tower, and now that we know that we have to extend to the north, we can also look for a good location, and maybe here. That is one. Then we can extend in this direction uphill here much faster. So let's connect this tower. And also our territory extension. One more here. We cannot build the road yet. So here is all rocky, so we won't get out here. But it seems that somewhere here we can squeeze through. Probably here. Looks promising.
One question I read earlier on Discord and I've been reading here is if you are able to rename the ship or rename buildings.
Not yet. So something like this is, of course, nice small additional features we could add, but for the early access, we will focus on the, let's say, more urgent things to make sure that we have the objectives, the trade, and the combat system running. But of course, that would be a nice addition to the game, I agree. Some people also requested that it should be possible to rename the tavern, so I like that too. The mint is finished. Let's see here. Yeah, it just has been finished. The workers are already there. But the silver and copper is incoming. Currently there's no coal incoming. Let's take a look if you find out why. Is our coal mine already finished? It is, but there are no miners. So we built maybe too many buildings which need miners, and we don't have any left. So this building is not occupied. Of course, what we can do is, for example, we can say, oh, right now we have enough stones, so let's disable the quarry. Now the miners are getting out here, and we can then see now there are 3 miners which were in the quarry before are now heading over here to the coal hut, so it has 3 miners incoming. So, and then we can have stuff, and in the meantime, let's see the guild hall. There are in the guild hall, there are no pickaxes left right now, so we need to produce some. So let's go to the toolsmiths and we can order new pickaxes. Yeah, well, the hour is already up. I hope you enjoyed my demo presentation of Pioneers of Pagonia, and I'm handing over back to Katharina.
Well, that was a very quick hour. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to wishlist the game on Steam and watch out for early access at the 13th of December 2023. So not much time left for that. And if you want to get in contact with us, you can join our Discord server. More than welcome to have a chat with us. Thank you for watching and see you next time.
See you in Pagonia. Goodbye.
Bye.